Welcome back to the Wallace Branch, and we are here today with Amy. We're starting with Amy because Amy, in the last episode, you may recall, started out towards Wallace. But unfortunately, Amy actually has to drop off these gondolas for picking up scrap first, so that was a mistake. So the very first task that we need to do with Amy is just to set out these cars. We're not going to spot them on the track, we're just going to set them out here on the siding for other people to take care of. Because this train contains 3 boxcars which are intended to go to Mullen, and although they are just dropping off paper, paper is one of our weekly tasks, one of our weekly objectives. However, those boxcars are urgently needed in Mullen to handle the general goods that Mullen will be sending out. Also in the train, in the back of the train there are 2 covered hoppers with hops, and hops is going over Lookout Pass, so we'll be also dropping that off in Mullen for picking up by the Northern Pacific. And essentially the Union Pacific in Wallace right now has a bunch of tasks that they could perform, but in the absence of cabooses, none of those tasks can be performed right now. So we're sort of all waiting on Amy Yumi here. One thing that we did handle in the last episode was we did tackle getting some locomotives off the route with paper from Pinehurst, and those locomotives are going to be coming back from Pinehurst with some fruit and other things other than fruit, but fruit is the main one that they'll be needing to deliver to Mullen as well. That's one of the today tasks. And another today task which we need to get going is the beer, which is already coming over from Wallace, but it needs to be taken into Kellogg, so that's an urgent task. And then finally, the other urgent task of 4 is the salmon, which is currently on its way over Lookout Pass. And I had routed that to the NP portal, but actually we don't need to take it to the NP portal. We just need to, well, first of all, we need to get rid of the helper engine on that train before we can send it to the NP portal. Now these 4 gondolas here that are just going to be going into the scrap track, basically they can be picked up by Jessica. Jessica is kind of in the background there. I'm not going to point because you can't see my mouse pointer anyway, but they are going to be picked up by Jessica, who will then essentially just service this industry and then spot them back out in the yard track. I shouldn't say spot, move them back out into the yard. The locomotives sure do stop fast when you're on easy mode. Well, they also stop fast when you don't have an actual train. And I have not used the actual, realistic mode very much, just a couple of times. Usually I'm in this kind of sitting outside the train, operating multiple trains at the same time, so tend not to have too much experience with operating in the realistic mode, cab mode. I would like to learn more about it. I think it's an interesting challenge. And obviously I do like realism in general. So yeah, we can get Amy Yumi back on track here. re-add that track mark of going to Wallace UP track 1. I think that's where we had her going before. And while we are here, I'm going to go progress our sand train. Normally I don't fly across the map like this because it does sometimes lead to game crashes, but in this case we're close enough that I think it's a good idea. Let's see how many of these cars are actually full. And we do have plenty of space on that track. There's nothing going on out there. A little bit more than halfway done with this train. Some of the industries really have to be worked like this, whereas other industries have enough space to be handled easily. Okay, Alan Alda has this very long string of hoppers. But Alan Alda's next task is going to take 13 of the hoppers. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $16 cars. Oh, he took too many. Okay, now as indicated, there are no Union Pacific cabooses to take with us, so that is a little bit of a challenge, and that is why we're going to have to wait for Amy Yumi to come in before we can actually take this train off. Doesn't mean there's nothing we can do. Doesn't mean there's no purpose to what I'm doing right now. I am taking these cars off because what we really need to do is get some of the other ore cars on their way to other mines. So yeah, let's just put them in this track here. This is track 2. So I sent that train into track 1, which means our Northern Pacific will have to get busy in clearing off some of those ore cars. It doesn't actually matter because Amy Yumi doesn't need to go all the way down that track. Amy Yumi just needs to get her locomotives into the track so that the rest of the cars can be picked up by Alan Alda. Okay, Alan Alda is looking good. Now, who do we have here? I believe this may be, I was going to guess, it's Roger Moore. Yes, I thought so. So we would like Roger Moore to come over. Come through this empty track, almost empty except for this SW 1200 here. And what we really need to do is just grab a caboose. Huh, so we ran that switch. That is surprising for two reasons. First of all, we should have we should have derailment prevention rule functioning on this. So somehow I think that got edited out. Not sure. Almost inclined to test it right here. Okay, you can slow down. You are going way over speed. Roger Moore. I believe this is Thomas Crown. Now, I think there the derailment prevention rule actually worked against me. This happened in the last session I played with the PNB as well. Having two locomotives in action at any one time on the same track, one of them is going to duel with the other about basically flipping the switch ahead of it. Somewhat problematic. So what we really need to do is free up this caboose here. We're not going to take these ore cars back up to the mine. That would not be good. There we are. It's a heavy load for this SW1200. Even with 3 cars, it may actually be more than he can pull. Oh, no, it's fine. Fine for flat ground. Well, almost flat ground in the yard. Now we can come back to our GP9s. And we're going to route them over onto the UP side, get a string of ore cars. And I'm almost inclined to take the entire string because then getting it onto the right track over onto the NP side might be logical. Going to make it a lot easier for our future switching moves. But yeah. There's always trade-offs, right? So I think for simplicity, I will actually do what I had originally planned to do, which is just to take the hoppers themselves. So Mammoth Mine needs 18 hoppers. Which means 17 from that string. Slow down a little bit there. Oops, not that much. There's Thomas Crown in there, looking good. Actually, this is one of the ones where I had added in an engineer asset just sitting there all the time, which is something that I need to actually take out before I release this onto the DLS. So you should actually see Thomas in there standing rather than this engineer mesh who is not standing, but rather sitting comfortably with his arms not at his side like the default engineers are. Okay, there we are. All right, this time, instead of counting first and then decoupling, it's longer trains than I'm used to dealing with. Let's see. Right here. Now this is a relatively long train. It's going to be a heavy train, and I expect it will actually be heavier than what that train can pull uphill going to the mines if they were full. But of course they are not full. So yeah, 276. They're quite lightweight. Accurate or not, they're quite lightweight when you're going empty. Now I am planning to do it a little bit differently this time. I'm not going to be putting up my overlays. I had the feedback from one viewer that the overlays were a little bit confusing. They have colors. They don't provide all the info necessary. So I have a new idea, which is that I might put up on screen a link to, not on screen, I will put in the comments section a link to an image that shows where the tasks are at. And that might be a little bit more informative. Another option is just to post a link to the spreadsheet, but then of course that spreadsheet will always be changing. I might not get to, the chance to update that every time. So yeah, let's go in this direction. Now the other string of ore cars there, some of them are going to the Hecla mine, which the NP would also take care of the Hecla mine. However, I'm not going to be taking them with me this turn. I think that that's just a little bit too much, that we wouldn't be able to accomplish it. So let's not try to be too ambitious. Currently, I have these skin-changing ore cars with have auto road numbering and everything, as well as a mesh load that animates appropriately, which is quite difficult to get working. I would like to add a few more, but yeah, it's not a priority right now, so I'm just sort of using the Union Pacific and Northern Pacific. I think it's not unreasonable that they would mostly have their own ore cars for this part of the route. Drive, navigate to... Gotta go back here. Okay, so the NP needs both lead and silver from the Mammoth Mine. So let's go navigate to Mammoth, NP, Mammoth Mine, lead. Pick up. Okay. Aha. Well, I can see that we already have a problem here. So why don't we stop you now? And let's not take a bunch of empties at the end of the train. Let the slack play out there. Now let's continue schedule. Nice. Keep looking to see if Amy Yumi might have arrived, but she has not. But she's almost there, so I think we're going to be able to just jump right back to Amy Yumi so that we can get this urgent task taken care of. Yeah, I thought we would see her, and I was not wrong. If we just looked a little bit further, there she is, coming in. Aha, I have a little issue on the racetrack behind us there. Gonna have to take care of that. Sometimes happens that the autopilot locomotives, even airplanes, will have a derailment when you reload a session. It's somewhat inexplicable, but it's usually nothing that will create any problems for us. So we'll just have you go straight here. Okay, we actually went a little bit too far there. Let's leave these boxcars blocking the road. Now, I think that's going to enable us to clear it. I hope so. I have put very short clears on all the switches. The question is, how short is short? There we go. Good. Now, Amy Yumi does need to actually, let's tag these cars. They are all going to Hunter. Tag. We're going to Hunter, lead. Well, they're all going to Hunter, but not all of them are going to the lead. What I've been doing in a lot of my sessions is when you have that situation where they're the same cars. I don't always want to have like just the exact same car. So here's a Union Pacific in the center here. And it's because it's a different asset, therefore the car tagger stops and it only labels the two ore cars that were the same asset. And sometimes when everybody's going to the same place, I'll just feel like, well, there's not really any necessity to label the whole string. I can just remember. And I think that's fine. Now we're going to send him off to Mullen. Alan Alda. But before we do that, we are definitely going to make certain that the cabooses are not all taken with us. Because part of the purpose of this journey was to make sure that we do get some cabooses into this yard. Okay, pull ahead with our 2 cabooses. This is the same exact type of locomotive, but here you can see that the default engineer is there. That is Alan. And as you may know, all of my Wallace engineers are named for memory purposes so that I don't get confused. I've named them after either fictional characters or real actors. I have not done that in the other of the 2 route playthroughs. I think it would be a little bit uncreative if I did. So I've left them at their default names in the other route, but I've left them with the default names but added a last name for the Wallace Branch. Okay, here we are. Slack is played out. There we go. It's almost like it's all part of a plan. Okay, drive to Mullen. UP main. Is there a UP main? No? Maybe it's just all NP, I guess. In that case, I'm a little bit worried I may need to clear out some of those tracks. But I did say we have an urgent task here, which is that we do need to take these beer cars. And luckily we have Amy Yumi, who can go into reverse now. Wait, why is this train stopping? I must have clicked on it accidentally. Don't let it happen again. Okay, so we just need to couple with the beer cars. I should say the reefers, which contain beer. Beer cars is a little bit of potential confusion introduced. Oops, sorry about that. It is a little bit of a bad habit of mine to be looking from a very long distance, but then I find when I'm looking a little bit more closely, I tend to orbit the camera around too frequently, which also is a bit annoying to watch. So I'm trying to do a little bit less. I know that I haven't been as good as I could have been so far this episode. Now let's find out how many ore cars the Bunker Hill and Sullivan concentrator will be handling. I'm suspecting that there are a lot of ore cars already there. Ah, 37. So I think we have so many, such a high demand that we might as well take all the ore cars back, but I hear the horn of Alan Alda heading back. Let's see, how many is this? That's something Cartagher will just tell me. 19. Yeah, let's just take them all. Now, of course, we have a shortage of ore cars relative to the amount that we have to pick up, but that doesn't mean that we have to bring more onto the map. We could either bring more onto the map, or we could simply unload some of these ore cars at the smelter and use them again. And of course, who better to do that than a Union Pacific train, which is already here and already has a line of ore cars with it. Needless to say, we're going to make sure that we pick up that caboose. And we are going to navigate him, we're going to navigate Amiyumi directly to Kellogg Freight Depot. And I suspect that will result in these beer reefers being unloaded directly. And I think we might as well check to see the progress of our Northern Pacific local as it heads over the map. Waza manual control. That's not good. I do quite a bit of prep for these sessions, and sometimes it is amazing how much stuff gets modified or blanked out between sessions that I play. I'm not editing the route. I'm just maybe checking on it, saving it in different ways. So yeah, when I checked the spreadsheet at the outset of the session, there were 6 tasks that had been completed. There are 6 tasks that are in progress. And several of those in progress tasks we haven't looked at for several sessions. So for example, the lumber cars that are in Borgia, I don't think we looked at them since they came onto the map in session 1, operating session 1. Make sure that we are fully coupled before heading off on autopilot to go to, navigate to Kellogg. Kellogg Freight MI2. Okay, then here we are with Jessica. Jessica just needs to go handle our scrap cars. Fly down here. That switch almost never gets thrown the other way. And this one is correct. That one's correct. Oh, we don't actually need to go all the way over, do we? I got briefly confused. We don't need to go over that side. Yes. Okay, just go straight and not go through there. Straight here, and then go in there. Excellent. Yeah, it's really difficult to fly in a straight line. Whether you're going forward or backwards, it tends to go in a bit of a circle, and that leads to a little bit of a rejiggering motion going back and forth. I find frustrating. Speeding a little bit. I generally think speeding through this particular area, especially on the main line here, might not be unrealistic. So yeah, 6 tasks underway, 6 tasks already completed. So what about this session? What is our goal? You know, now that we're 45 minutes in, perhaps it's an appropriate time to think about what would be our goal for this remaining 15 minutes. And I think the answer is we can clearly get this scrap taken care of, and hopefully the beer will have arrived. That could be a second completion, and then potentially the Mullen task that we just sent off, we could have the possibility to get those general goods paper cars unloaded in Mullen and then general goods picked up. We'll see. Probably have to postpone that till the beginning of the next one, but one can always hope. And I will be cutting out just a couple of minutes where we went into Surveyor, because and that'll save us a little bit of time. Jessica Rabbit. Got to look at the moving terrain of HD. I've got a red block signal here. I suppose that's because the switch at the far end of that siding is thrown against us. So I think we can say that we have authorization to pass. Kellogg Wardner Depot. You can barely see them, but there are some snow-capped peaks in the distance, which represents the area of Burke. We will get closer to them in a later episode. The mountains of this part of Idaho are not especially high. And so if this represents the summer, perhaps it's a little bit odd that there would be snow-capped peaks visible, but it provides a nice variety, I think. And of course, sometimes they are very snowy. looking at Google Maps, you can see that there are peaks that are high enough that they're past the tree line. So any place like that would remain, at least have the possibility to be snow-capped fairly late into the season. We can watch our gate action. Everybody likes a little gate action. Wow, they're cutting it very close with the gate action this time. And I am guessing that all 4, but it's possible only 3. And I think actually we only have the tasks to fill up 3. So I'm just going to spot them at the end of the track, and whatever gets filled up, gets filled up. You can see, of course, Herbie being unloaded into the, is he being unloaded or is he being rescued? It's left ambiguous. It's up to interpretation. I think that's good enough. Aha. So Eric Rodman does actually have a nice task to do. Just to pick up that caboose, which is blocking the way. Very clearly blocking the way. In reality, I really should have gone around the other direction, huh? Isn't that going to make more sense? Okay, changing my mind. I know that time is short. I can hear the train coming. It's coming right around the corner. Here we are. So... Yes, okay. So for you, because we really need to get the general goods, I think what we want to do is just keep you moving. Okay, stop here. Okay. Again, I made my decision a little bit too late on this one. Let's decouple these. Go forward. Just forward enough to pass that switch, though. I'm conscious that we're on a collision course here. There again, the derailment prevention rule was not working with me. Much to my surprise and annoyance. But no derailments took place, so therefore I really don't have that much to complain about. But for this one, we better make sure switch is aligned correctly. Okay. Well, here you've gone way too far. Doesn't matter. These cars can sit out here on the bend. A little dangerous. Critical thing is to get these cars in. Let me just check. We've got 3 paper, but are we also taking out 3 general goods? I can't quite remember. Now, only 2 general goods need to be filled, so we need to remember that. Okay, let's slow her down. And now I'm doing it again, jerking around. Now, it is a question whether we can go head in and unload these cars. I really hope we can. I'm thinking let's just take everything. Yes, yes, okay. Whoa, you, stop. Come right back. I do have an auto horn on that junction, so I don't need to watch him. Make sure that he does the horn. That's for somebody else to worry about. Good thing that we cleared out all that space, because we're going to need it for this train. Not that it would matter, but it's good. Get some rail fan point of view here. There we go. Oh, pause. It's not a collision course, but it is sort of a collision course, as you can see. And we're going to drive you right back to Wallace. And P. Burke interchange, I think, is going to be fine. Does not look good for unloading all three of those paper, does it? Maybe I should have looked at that in advance. Does it look good for even unloading one of them? 2 would be fine. I think 2 is going to be good. Trying to switch junction as a message over here. I've never seen that before. And I also don't see any indication that we are unloading on the scrap track, but it might just not go that far back. No, that can't be right, because BHS cross, that would be far enough ago. It's worth mentioning that, in fact, the scrap cars did get loaded. Yeah, and as for Amy Yumi, she didn't quite make it, so I'm just going to pull her forward. Well, there's the music, so as you probably guessed, that's all the time we have for today. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you again next time on the Wallace Branch.